it's still the beginning of the year. And the other day, I did put out a video talking about mostly like, the way you should live your life and just being able to like really fulfill yourself in life, like find your purpose, figure out how to, navigate through that purpose and grow exponentially, at the most, not fastest rate, but at the most consistent rate that you can, while, being able to accomplish everything that you've ever wanted to. So just in case, you happen to transition into the next life, you won't regret having held yourself back in this lifetime, right? Because when you are held back in this lifetime, and I'm going to speak for like 95% of the population, when you do get held back in this lifetime, it's not really because of others. It's never really because of others. I love how us as humans, as people, we love to blame other people for our shortcomings. Like if we step on something because someone else left it there, easily we want to pass the blame or find someone to yell at. And it's just like what that is, that energy right there is just like the ignorance of only looking externally, of only seeing outside of yourself. Because it's real. You can be a blind person and still have vision. You know how there are literally people who are blind who have been born blind, or they get, they have an accident and they turn blind in their lifetime. Those people really can't see the world the way that we do. And, I had a follower tell me that his younger sister or older sister, his sister was blind, and that all they see is colors, like just swirls of colors and things of that nature. There's no like real, I believe, like images or structures. Their imagination obviously is there. So actually that'd be interesting to have a blind person on the show. That'd be so nice. I'd have a lot of questions for them. But going back to the vision, how people usually have, people wear glasses too, right? So they have like unclear vision, but people are literally blind to themselves, to like some realities that are like in their face, that some people are wonder like, how come that person doesn't see how they're acting? Like why can't they see themselves or understand that they're a little, they're too much, or they're not acting right, or they're out of it. People can become blind to themselves, and what that is just always looking outside. And that is also kind of like religion in that sense. Religion does this as well, where it externalizes everything, including God, because that, and I talk about this all the time on the show, that I believe the energy of God is within us all. It's inside of us. It's not like an external figure. And the Bible even tells you man should not be making images of God. Do not make man in the image of God. Do not make images of God. Do not worship any false idols. And I would say even Jesus is a false idol. And I don't want to say he's false like as in he never existed, because historians will tell you time and time again that he was a real person and he did exist. But he is not God, and we can all agree on that if you really pay attention to the story. People think that he is the child of God, but then what are we? If you're praising someone over you and you're saying that that person is a child of God and I am not, or I am not like that person, I am not a miracle child. Like, it's a miracle in general to just be born from a womb. Have you ever sat with that thought, like how a woman, like how I was able to conceive 2 babies in my belly in 9 months and have them perfectly healthy in my hands, and now they're just as tall as me almost, and just the miracle that is. And people think of the story of the Virgin Mary, which, like, let's not joke around. Like, no one will ever believe a woman who says that she didn't have sex and that she's pregnant. So the fact that they believed this a long time ago and then started to worship this child that supposedly was seeded by God, and then now we're worshiping this other human, which is just like us, makes him no different. So his powers and what he did, obviously we are able. And the story is not to worship Jesus and put him over you, even though many people have done that, but it's that you can be just like him. You can be as influential, as powerful, as good, right? Or I mean, like, as integral as him, because it's not like he had like crazy powers. Yeah, he healed people, but you know, you've heard of Reiki. You know, Reiki is real. You know, people can heal not only with their words, but with their body, with their energy, right? Because my grandmother, going back to people, you know, let's just shine some light on people who don't know anything about indigenous cultures or, you know, their past lineage. My great grandmother, right, on my maternal side, used to heal children in her village, and she was like a curandera. And it wasn't only energy work like Reiki, even though she didn't know Reiki, she didn't know what Reiki was, she didn't know that she was actually practicing Reiki, but Reiki. But people would come to her, and it was just something like she never told people that she could heal children. She just like was so grounded. She was indigenous, you know, they had houses made of sticks and clay and all this stuff, and lived, you know, deep in Mexico. And she just was connected to the plants and to nature, to just the elements and everything like that. So she just kind of had an intuition and truly believed in her intuition, or knew that her intuition was clear, because she would, you know, basically remedy kids. So when kids would be sick, they would come to her, because she just, you know, would give advice and tell them what plants to use and or what to do with their hands, how to massage them, where exactly to do what. And then they would get better. And so they would keep bringing, people would hear more about her and keep bringing their kids to her, you know, even adults themselves, like after this. And I'm going to tell you the story because I haven't actually shared it. So this story my grandmother told me about my great grandmother. And obviously this is all in the same topic. My great grandmother had this woman come to her once, because this woman had just buried a child and she was in her 40-day stage. So if you don't really know about that, the woman is not really to have any sex or go outdoors or, you know, have the cold air hit her back or anything like that the first 40 days after she has a child, because she needs to really be healthy. She needs to repair her body, and she needs to regenerate and produce all of the things that her milk needs to provide for the children and for herself, because she's lost a lot of different collagen and calciums from even making the baby and the bones and everything, right? And I had 2 in me. So I hear stories of people's teeth falling off when they're pregnant. My teeth were completely healthy. I didn't have any crazy problems like that. So they weren't like sucking me dry, because I was very healthy at the time and taking my vitamins and, you know, being very active with my diet. But this woman, you know, she had just buried a child, and apparently, you know, she came to my mom because she had this weird pain in her stomach and down there in the areas of, like, you know, where she had the child and stuff. And it was just like this bloated feeling that she couldn't remove. It was like gases were stuck inside of her, something of that nature. Okay. So she comes to my grandma and she says, hey, you know, I just had my child and I'm not feeling well. You know, I just feel really sick and blah, blah, blah. So my grandmother looks at her and just, you know, from maybe she picked up something on the aura, she said, did you guys have sex? And they kind of looked at each other, almost embarrassed. And, you know, my grandma loves to tell this story. And they said, yeah, you know, and I have to go back and ask my grandma, because I don't know if this was like anal sex or regular, but the point was that it was within the 40 days, right? And my grandmother was like, the only way that you can remedy that is if you drink his sperm. And sure the fuck enough, this woman listened to my grandmother, because she had countless, you know, success stories in the village, right? And she got better, and they came to her and they praised her. And that's how my grandma was, you know, very aware of this and picked this up and can never forget this story, that she had remedied that. And who knows this stuff? Like, how did my grandma know that that was the thing? Because my grandma, you know, she left her husband, I believe, after she had that last child. So she wasn't even with them around that time. So she wasn't even like active like that to know. But maybe, you know, maybe she don't want to tell nobody, and she went through that and just tried it and it worked. I don't know. Maybe it was intuition. The point is, we can do things like that, like Jesus Christ. And we're over here praising him and literally tapping into an energy, because if you talk to a lot of people and you talk to them about like what, you know, crazy miracles can be performed in a Christian church, some people know a secret. And this, one of the secrets is mantra. And I'm not going to talk about it because obviously I've never experienced it, but I know people who have experienced this like energy force that comes out of these mantras that are said in the churches. And all of a sudden you almost like open yourself up to something, like almost like taking LSD, or just seeing, things that you couldn't see before, experiencing or feeling things, right? Tell me you've been in a Christian church and someone's trying to recruit you, and all of a sudden they have you crying and on your knees or feeling something. That is real energy. You're tapping into something, but it doesn't mean that it can only be accessed through Christianity or through Jesus Christ. Like, there's different forms. Like, that's why there's Buddhism, and that's why there's meditation. That's why people practice breath work. All of these things are known by many people and practiced consistently for many years because they do work. They do something to the consciousness, right? The show, this video, this channel, everything that I do is not only about consciousness, but obviously elevating yourself. So yeah, all of that is real. And it's just crazy when you put others, or always externalizing these forces and seeing only the outside and never, like, you obviously look at yourself in the mirror and you only see your physical body, and you look at your imperfections of your skin and just how you're changing and your hair and your outfit, and all that is external. And that's where people are stuck. People only look at the external part of themselves, even when they're looking in the mirror. And they only pay attention to what other people are doing and other people's patterns. And they're not paying attention to their own patterns. And they're not paying attention to their own words and what they're saying and how they are manifesting and affecting the people around them and the environment around them in general. And people look at themselves in the mirror and they're so fixated on this face and on the makeup and on the wrinkles and on the hair and on the outfit. If you look at successful people, like the ones that wear suits and whatnot, they are not going to allow people to see them like really janky when they're, doing business and stuff. If they go grocery shopping, like leave them asses alone. Like, let people live. But for the most part, if you're interacting or you're engaging in business or you're trying to network or anything, there is a criteria. Like, you don't want to just look like you don't have a shower either. So that is important. But when people just fixate on the outside and they do not pay attention to how they treat others or how they just affect the space, then it's just as ignorant as just always externalizing a God and never like praising yourself and seeing yourself as worthy enough to do those same things, right? To accomplish those same things. So when you don't see yourself as a God, which is the whole trick here, then you never really reach your highest potential. And there is a high stakes game here, right? And I love how Savant says that, high stakes game, because it's real. Like, there is a lot to win here. There's a lot to learn, and there's so much to lose if you don't do it right. And that's what scares people about losing, right? And really going out there and trying to make something of themselves and do what they really want to do, manifest and create the reality that they need. So, all right, everyone, have a great weekend. And again, happy Friday.